Lori is here. She is the author of Marry Him, making the case for settling for Mr. Good Enough.
The book is based on a survey where men and women were asked if they got 80% of everything they want in their ideal mate, would they be happy with that? And women said, no, that's settling. And men said, 80%, I'd be thrilled, that's a catch. And so
80% to the women you surveyed is settling?
That's settling because, the question is, what actually makes us happy in long-term romantic love? And, that's the question that I explore in the book. And I'm a journalist, so I went out and I asked neurobiologists about chemistry, and I asked behavioral economists about demographics, and I asked marital researchers.
What are women too picky about here?
Well, I'll tell you, men and women were asked what would be a deal breaker for going on a second date. And men named 3 things. They said she has to be cute enough. She doesn't have to look like Angelina Jolie. She just has to be cute enough. She has to be warm and kind. And she has to be interesting to talk to. Those seem like really valid criteria.
Ding, 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 ding. Pretty simple.
Right. Okay, reasonable, right? The women came back with 300 things that would rule out a guy for a second date. And we're talking about like another 2 hours and maybe a free dinner. And they wouldn't do it. And there were things like he wore a brown belt with black shoes. Or we were having a really good time and I thought he was cute and he was interesting. But then he did this Austin Powers impression. And I just can't get that out of my mind and I can't go out with him again. Austin Powers guy could be the love of her life. If he does these impressions on the second date, okay, don't go on a third. But maybe he was just nervous. The guys who are bad first daters might be great life partners. You don't know.
Bars.
I ain't got nothing to say.
Let me just let her preach.
She said she.
Hey, you got nothing to say.
Let me make the other argument. You have to have a list, Lori. You have to. You just can't run around dating any Tom, Dick, or Harry. You have to develop a list, but
you have to have the right things on your list. They have to be the right things. The character things, is he kind? Do we have the same life goals? Do we have the same values, the fundamentals? Do we enjoy each other? How do we communicate with each other? Somebody said to me, this woman that I was really interested in wouldn't go out with me because I didn't read the same books that she did. But she's madly in love with this guy who reads the same books, but he doesn't call her when he says he will.
What are your thoughts?
I just ain't got shit to say. I mean, it's just that it's what I see. It's what I see in some of my girls' friends, some of my friends, some of my girls' friends, and whenever we sit down and we talk, oh yeah, I got my dating and I'm like, yeah, girl, sit down, yeah, but he did this and he did that and that. I'm like, girl, you're gonna be alone for the rest of your life, like if you keep on going like that for little stuff. There's people that if you look at them, they don't go together, right? As a matter of fact, if you look at me and my wife, we don't technically, for what most people would look for, we do not go together. Like, I like loud ass music. She doesn't. I like bass. I like people. She doesn't. I like motorcycles. Nope. We don't watch necessarily the same shows. But raising a family ain't about the shows you watch. It ain't about the motorcycles you watch. It ain't about all, So.
You know what? It's funny because when people talk about compatibility, they talk about, we share the same hobby.
Yes.
We like the same shows. But when you talk, that's fine for when you're dating. But when you think about doing something long term, your compatibility should not base itself on that. It should be a matter of values. It should be a matter of vision. Me and Preach are nothing alike in terms of personality.
On every point. Name them. We are polar opposites on everything. Girls we like, on what we drive, on how we eat, on what we eat, on everything.
Yeah.
Maybe music?
And even then, there's a bit of overlap, but really not. But where we do have compatibility? It's values.
Yup.
Me and Preach both value integrity. Me and Preach both value working consistently. Me and Preach both value speaking our minds. Right? There's one thing I've never questioned about you. It's your integrity.
If you ask me, is there some shit going on? Yeah. We sit down, we talk about it, we chop it up. That's right?
That's it.
If we think about it, I'm like mad that we're not friends. I can't even see it because we're so not alike.
No, we're not. But you know what, though? I think when it comes to a work partnership, it's perfect in a way. It's perfect in a way because what we are saying is important between the two of us to have is what matters for this to work. It's the foundational aspects of this. It's not like we both like dancing and all this. It has nothing to do with that.
No.
Is that when it comes down to the difficult parts, I know I can count on your character because we're both going to handle this difficult situation probably very similar. Right.
And we have the same goal.
Yes.
As well. The goal is the same. The values are the same. The personality, polar opposites.
Exactly. When we say people should settle, it doesn't mean settle on ideas like values. It means that people are being picky about things that are not important to what a longevity of a marriage or anything like that is. Right. When we say settle, it's settle for the superfluous stuff. And people are not capable of doing that. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh my God, he matches his like a black belt with brown shoes. A brown belt and black shoes ain't gonna raise a family. As a matter of fact, maybe a brown belt and black shoes will raise a family, but it doesn't help anywhere else.
Yeah. People bring up all kinds of stuff that doesn't even matter.
Nope.
To the longevity. Well, he's not the hottest guy, so. Eventually, you guys are going to stop being attractive. Well, you know what? He's not the best in bed. Guess what? Most married people don't have the wildest sex life for the most part.
No. And you can learn. You could learn together. You could, but it's not as long as you got your moment. It's like whenever we took that live on Instagram and that guy was like, I think I'm boring. No. Maybe you're just not complicated. That's not your thing. We don't have hobbies. We don't do anything. Are you good? Yeah. Then you good then.
Those are just bonuses. That if you have, they're great. But they're not necessary. Those are privileges. Those are luxuries.
Yeah, but he doesn't like Lil Yachty like I like Lil Yachty. Who gives a f?
So and then we bring this up, but people are like, well, I'd rather be alone than be in a toxic relationship. Let's be clear about something. A lot of people who are in quote unquote toxic relationships, I question how you marry somebody who is unbelievably toxic. Did you not know who this person was when you lived with them? Did you not know who this person was when you were starting to get with them? When you guys were making your vows? Did you not know this person? What changed after you got married? And what you come to realize is that it's not generally relationships that are toxic. It's not marriages that are toxic. It's the expectations going in. People find out that the quote unquote labor that you have to put in is not fun. It's not roses. It's not the wedding ceremony.
Me as a woman, I don't think that I was necessarily prepared or in the mindset to know that. It's almost like once you get into it, then you're like, oh shoot, like this is what I'm going to have to keep up with.
I get that.
Us speaking as 36-year-old people know that now.
Your wedding is one day.
Yup.
Your marriage is the rest. And the marriage is labor. The wedding is that one day. When the cake is cut, the dress is worn, and the flowers are faded, you have marriage, and now you have to work on that. That day is gone.
Yep.
You have to work, and it's work. It's work. Don't sit there and think that it's not work and everything is easy. You got to work. You got to be able to. You have to be willing to put the work. And that's the thing.
It's a lot
when
of
you
labor.
stop putting the effort, that's when it's just like, yeah.
If two people come in and say they're going to put in the effort, they're going to put in the labor, all right, and they're not disillusioned about what I think one of the biggest disservice that we have in our society today is that married people and our parents' generation didn't give us a very honest look at what marriage is supposed to look like. They let the media fill those ideas in for us because oftentimes our parents were either divorced or more concerned with their own interests and their own well-being, right? So the media filled in our ideas of what a marriage is supposed to look like because a lot of us didn't grow up with that example in our lives. That's why people who come from married households where things were relatively healthy are far more likely to be married than people who didn't. Right?
Yeah.
Because their example is based off of something firm. They saw their parents. So if you take people from third world countries, right? Most folks from like South Asia are going to end up married and stay married for most of their life. Why? Because of what they saw when they were growing up. They had a real look at what it was supposed to look like. You feel what I'm saying? Whereas everyone else, when I talk to people about marriages and what like a lifelong commitment is supposed to look like, they talk about love and they talk about, happiness and all these other things. And I'm like, but do you understand that's just a byproduct or reward of something else?
Mm-hmm.
Do you not understand that's a byproduct of duty, of responsibility, of labor? Do you not understand, like, that's the things you should be thinking about, not the reward. You should be thinking about the process. Where they're talking about, like, there's responsibilities, like a duty within, like, marriage to sex and all this stuff within a Remember that black couple?
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, me at 24, I didn't know what a marriage entailed. I didn't know what it would be like to raise kids. I didn't know what, like, giving birth, how it would affect my body, all these things. And it makes you realize most people are never given these real examples. And they
don't think about that. And it's not talked about.
No.
It's not talked about. They don't know about it. They just, you know what, I'm going to go into this. And it's all flowers and everything and stuff, especially that's for 25. It's a status. You like the status. Hey, I'm married. Yes, I got a husband. I got a whole ring. You should have put a ring on it if you like it or whatever the hell she sings. Yeah. It's the status. And at 24, 25, it really sounds good, but it's much more than the status. It's more than that. It's work. You got to work. You got to be able to be willing to work. And you have to know that a lot of things change. It's not going to stay like that the whole time,
Women are usually the ones who leave the marriages. So sort of like the men are happy in their marriages, and women don't realize that they're the ones who are often dissatisfied. And when this researcher that I spoke to looked at people who were getting divorced, it turned out that the women rated their marriages as, sevens, not like 3 or 4, as sevens. And
how interesting.
They would say things like, I love him, but I'm not in love with him anymore. And the men were devastated because they thought the marriage was just fine.
Right, because they're not asking for as much.
Right. Well, they have high expectations, but they're realistic about what one human being can provide.
Yes.
I think the individual has lost sight of what it means to be part of a collective. And has lost the ability to understand that, like, sometimes my little wants have to take a backseat because I'm striving for something bigger. Like, preach, if I was trying to stay axe and fixate on everything I wanted out of my work life, you and I would never be working together.
No,
and vice
absolutely.
versa.
Vice versa.
I got
Absolutely.
my vices. You know what I'm saying? I got my vices. But you sometimes have to put your wants on the back burner because you guys, as a collective, as a unit, are striving for something bigger.
I just know this, that I'm more powerful with other people. I know that. You know what I mean? On my flag, it's written "L'union fait la force," which the union is our power, and that's what it is. So I'm ready to that. You know what? Peep game. That word settling. It has such a bad rap. It's people when you hear settling, you know what they hear? They hear give up. When they say no, you should settle. You settle. Oh, I gave up. That's what they hear in the back of their head. That's what they hear. When you say to someone, "Oh yeah, you're settling down," I didn't settle. Me, never. They hear you gave up. It has a bad rap in the connotation of people's brain and the way the words work. Settling down has a bad rap. So whenever you say you should settle down, no, I'm never going to give up. That's what they hear. And that's what it is. That's the problem. Is the perception that they have of what settling is. Settling is just a thing. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a thing.
No.
Okay. And then after that, how you settle and the context, which is very important, is going to determine whether it's good or bad. But it's not inherently good or bad. It's just a thing. But people, you say settle, automatical bad. You gave up.
And I think people have this idea that if they're going to settle, they're going to be inherently unhappy. It's like, no.
Yeah. Because they gave up.
Some of the greatest things in life come from compromise. Some of the greatest things in life. Things that you had to say, you know what, I'm going to just swallow my pride. Let me see where this thing goes. I'm going to put in the work. And you come out on the other end and it gives you benefits and rewards that you never could have had otherwise without having to sacrifice some things. Maybe my partner isn't the best looking partner I could have had. But guess what? When I come home at night, this person holds me down. When I'm going through a stressful thing, they always there. Do you dig what I'm saying? It's okay. It's okay. The best things in my life has always come from settling and compromise. It's not for me to say, I will never. You got to compromise. That doesn't mean you compromise on everything, but on the things that are really not that important, if you're being honest with yourself, which are just linked to your ego. At some point, you have to be honest, like, why am I holding on to this thing? It's not even necessary, but I'm pretending and treating it like it is, and it's holding me back. I will not work at a job that doesn't have the prestige, but it pays better than the job that has the prestige. Yeah, I won't work there. All right, then. Then don't. Then don't. You know, maybe you can't brag about it to your friends like your doctor friend can. But guess what? Maybe that job would have been happier. Gave you more flexibility, more autonomy, more choices over what you wanted to do. But you won't do that because of your ego. Is that something to be respected, to be revered? You know, one thing I loved about being where I'm from is like, you settle all the time because it's a survival thing. You can't afford to have this, I got my standards, and it's like, but you got food to put on the table for people. Do you feel what I'm saying? You better marry this person. They may not be the best looking, but they come from a good family. Okay.
And they got their priorities set, and they will get you through and your family through whatever you got to do. That's, you know what I mean?
That's right. And they stay married. They stay married.
Hey, my daddy always told me this. He came here and he went to school and stuff, and he always wanted to work in the laboratory. Yeah. He wanted to be able to make tests and stuff like that. But my sister was on the way.
Yeah.
So he became a nurse because he was supposed.
Don't set on your dreams.
Listen, he had a kid coming, and the second one was a fat one.
That's right.
And was eating all. He needed to put food on the table. He settled, but he's got what he's got now.
That's
he's
right.
good now.
Good.
You seen my dad.
Yeah. If I look at him today, I'm like, I hope I get to be like him when I'm older. I'm not your friend. I see your dad sometimes, and I'm like, I want that to be me at that age. Chilling. Yo, genuinely, bro, very big inspiration. I'm a big fan of your dad. I remember when I was looking at him in Haiti and just watching him enjoy the little things, and I'm like, this man's figured it out. Yeah, you know what? He had to sacrifice. Yeah, maybe he didn't love all of his choices, but when you look at where he's at, you know, in the latter stage of his life, you can tell he's like, I'm good with the choices I made, and it was good for the people around me.
Yeah, my dad likes you too. Actually, he really. Hey, comment il va, ba? Yo, you're invited. You invited to the house anytime you want. Cause when I was like, yeah, okay. And sometimes he's reassured. He's like, okay. Oh, you're gonna be with Abba. All right, you guys good. Okay. You guys good. He knows, and he's seen what we've accomplished and shit like that. So yeah, I think there's reciprocity here where my dad's like, no, all right, let's do the cool dude. He a cool dude.
Yeah.
My mom just wants to know. Yeah. So she wants to know, like, is this? I'm like, nah, he's chilling. Don't even worry about that. Abba is chilling. He's not me, mom. Chill.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's something to be admired there. There's something to be admired there to the priority, like that they put on the group and the family unit, like the idea of like doing things for the greater group. Like there's something I really appreciate about that, because I think, you know, growing up in the West, it's always about the individual. What are my needs? What are my needs? I really want a child. Well, what does that mean to have a child, to bring him in this world? It's just something I feel is good. You never hear them talk about legacy. You never hear them talk about like generational wealth. You never hear them talk about like family traditions. None of that matters. Everything is about me. And there's a certain level of selfishness that comes in, which I think permeates to marriages. And that's why I think we fail so often, because we're like, well, what do I want? And even I've fallen guilty to that in my own decisions and some of my
absolutely.
And I catch myself and I'm like, woo. But I think through putting through like having to humble myself in certain circumstances, I've realized there's something bigger than me, and when I invest in it, it's far more rewarding than anything I could have done for just myself uniquely.
Definitely, and that's the thing. Like, people think that by preaching like that, we put ourselves in a stance where we think we're better than y'all, whatever or not. No, we f*** up.
Oh, yeah?
we fuck up, and if we say stuff like that right now, and if we're able to film like that, it's because we had to learn sometimes from the hard way. We've been like that. We recognize what we say. It's not like, yeah, look at them, these peasants. No, we recognize these behaviors in us as well, in me.
Yep. And we're constantly learning. I mean, I've learned so much from you. Like I'll say this, and I say this very comfortably, like in terms of like learning about relationships and friendships, like you've been one of the biggest sources of information and knowledge in that realm. But you know, that takes a certain level of humbleness and to like be like, oh man, this perspective. Okay. There's something that he's doing that I'm not, that I can take away from, because I see how it's rewarded his life and the people around him. And it's helped me to be better in my relationships, better in my friendships, better with people around me. And I think knowing that, it's like, oh, I get to undo a lot of the societal conditioning that I've had that's made me inherently selfish in some ways. To bring it back to the topic, man, I think settling has such a negative connotation, but I think if people humble themselves, they realize they can grow so much from just accepting less and then realizing there's so much more to pull from it.
Yeah, definitely.
Accept less initially to get more later. And I think if people don't learn that lesson, if they don't make that investment in their lifetime, they're going to be missing out on one of the best lessons in life. That sometimes you just got to take what's given to you and work with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can make something that's far exceeding anything you could have envisioned for yourself. And it's not because your partner was more amazing than you imagined or anything like that, but the labor that you put in helped you craft something from yourself that you couldn't have imagined. So I would just tell people to think about that and understand that these ideas don't have to be negative. They've just constantly told you that they are. All right? So that would be the main thing that I would take away from this.
Absolutely.
That's pretty much it. We want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. We want to hear from you guys. That's about it.
A não ser a vontade de te encontrar, o motivo já nem sei, nem que seja só para estar ao seu lado, só pra ler no seu rosto uma mensagem de amor.